We're good? All right. I presume everybody knows who Hitler was. Caroline, can you give me a brief definition of who he was and what he did?
He was the dictator of Germany in the Nazi regime from like 1970-ish to through the end of World War II.
Yes, Hitler became the ruler of what was Germany. It became Nazi Germany in the beginning of 1933, and his reign lasted until 1945. All right. So I presume you all did the readings last night, but here's some notes. I'm going to split you up into groups. Let's go Caroline, Connor, and Aaron. You guys will be in one group. There you go. And I'm sorry I did not make enough forms. And you four will be in another group. Here are some papers to look at. All right. So today we're having a discussion on whether Hitler was a good or a bad leader. All right. You guys would be the proponent of Hitler being a bad leader. Your group will be the proponent of Hitler being a good leader. So if you guys will take just a moment to read over, you don't have to read all of these, it's just paraphrasing some of the stuff that he did. And if you guys will take a moment and look up at me when you're done, we'll get started. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves to be able to answer some questions I ask.
Did you say we were
No, you were. Well, no, they are defending Hitler as a good leader. You guys are defending him as a bad leader.
The way he did it was not really. He's a fantastic leader. No. Oh no, exactly. I mean, there's no argument. He's a fantastic leader.
Right.
Well, listen, living in Boca Raton, Florida, he was there. I kind of wish it kind of worked out.
You did not just say.
When you drive on the road.
He just killed me. Yeah, it's kind of not the best decision in the world.
Maybe not like
All right. You guys ready? All right. Let's give your group another 30 seconds. Just go ahead and talk it over. You guys ready? All right, both groups are ready. I'm going to start off with the group that is going for Hitler's leadership skills. Can you please start us off with an opening comment of why you think he was a good leader?
Go ahead.
Why? Because he raised the economy from nothingness to the highest growing economy in the entire world within 3 years.
All right. Let's start off with an opening comment for you guys.
Well, he killed a lot of people during the Holocaust and during World War II.
All right. Let's go with the economy part. What is some prior history to Nazi Germany? What happened to them in World War I? Yes.
Britain and France pretty much annihilated their entire economic status. They took away all their land and put them into this little confined space, and they set up military bases around them, making sure that they could not regrow into what they were in World War I.
So basically, Germany was just
At bottom rock level, you couldn't get a dime to save your life, essentially.
okay. So from there,
Didn't they just start printing money too?
They did eventually.
yes.
Because it simulated the economy originally. That's how Hitler started it. He came up with that, and he also came up with the idea that he started making, he started taking over all the banks in the surrounding areas. And once he took over the banks, he could print out as much money as he wanted to hand out to people for free. So that's how the economy first started to rise.
That's correct. Alright, so basically Hitler took Germany from, well, Hitler was not really well known in the politics of this time until the mid to late 1930s. However, Germany was in a state of decay, to say, but he was known as a strong speaker, so he was able to, not really mind control, but persuade the populace to go in with what he wanted. So he was able to boost the economy by generally taking over all aspects of Germany's politics. So let's go with this group and how they said he was a mass murderer. It is known that in the Holocaust, 6 million Jews were killed. However, it wasn't just Hitler doing it. He also, like I said, was able to persuade the populace into saying that it was the Jews' fault and other minorities that Germany was put in a state of decay. I mean, do you guys have anything to say to that? Because that's a pretty solid answer right there.
Typically being manipulative isn't really a positive quality, so if he essentially implanted these ideas in the public's mind, then it kind of is his fault.
Being manipulative is just part about being a politician. Every politician is manipulative. That's how they get elected to office. That's how you get people to follow you.
Yes, but if your politician for, let's say, Jackson, Mississippi said, let's go out and kill all of the Mexicans who are in this area,
But
would you
you-
generally do that?
But to be fair with Hitler, the Jews and many of the groups controlled the banks, controlled pretty much all the money systems, and Hitler at the time wanted to control that part of the system so that he could regain the economic status. So Hitler said that it was the Jews' fault why they were in their predicament because they were not handing the money out like they should be. So by him saying that, everybody wanted blood from the Jews since they were not handing the money out and they were not stimulating the German economy. So all he had to do was blame the Jews and everybody wanted to go after them.
And therefore he's a good leader?
Therefore, he stimulated the economy and moved it out of the way, and every single person in Germany said he was right.
But
So in a way, yeah, he is a good leader. For the Germans, they said he was a good leader. Just because we don't agree with it, the Germans would agree with it. They thought he was fantastic, that's why he moved up so quickly.
I think something to point out is just like on the discussion of whether or not he's solely a good leader, you kind of have to ignore, like, just because what he's doing is morally wrong, that doesn't make him an unsound leader, or like not a good leader.
Well, also he wasn't very good at delegating, and part of being a leader is delegating, not just having control all for yourself.
That is true. If you look on the sheet, about the third paragraph, it said he did distrust most of his generals. And if you remember from the reading, his Mein Kampf book said he wanted absolute power, which meant every time the Germans were about to go into a battle, he would be the one there, not really to lead it like in medieval times in the front of the battle, but he would be the one controlling his own troops. So basically his generals were just his followers. They didn't really do much. They were in charge of his armies, but he was the absolute leader. Does that make him a bad leader, though?
No, his plan worked. He conquered pretty much the entire known world within a matter of years. I mean, he came up with the idea of blitzkrieging and his entire military force swiped the entire European force out of the way. The only thing that he didn't successfully conquer were the United States and Russia. Everything else he conquered within a couple of years. So, no, it's a fantastic move.
You also read that when he was attacking France, his generals told him not to attack Russia, mainly because it was the end of the fall and they were going into the Russian winter, and everyone knows the Russian winter is what killed Napoleon. So Hitler, with his distrust of his generals, attacked Russia and opened up two fronts, which, if you look at it from that point of view, if he did not attack Russia, all of his forces would have been on the Western Front. So he would have been able to eventually take over Europe and focus on Russia because America was not in the war at this time.
I mean, he did take over Europe. He didn't get stopped. The only time he got stopped was the United States and Russia both attacked him. And the only reason Russia attacked him is because he moved in. Russia was okay that he took up most of that. He was conquering parts of Russian territory. The only time they stopped him is when he went to the oil, when he started getting close to their oil refineries, when they stopped him. If he had stopped and not and moved forward, he would have been fine. So yeah, I know, that's not the best idea to go against your allies, but he opened two fronts because he thought that he could just sweep over Russia, seeing how Russia was also in depression at the time. He didn't expect the Russian forces to regroup like they did.
Yes, but it was also his choice to go.
It was his choice, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that also took place in 1943, if I'm not correct, but up until 1943, there's no argument saying that his decision-making by himself was pretty much flawed. He worked for perfection.
That's a good point. Do you guys have any rebuttal to that? Or do you have any other comments that you want to make?
I was just thinking, as we learned from Mr. Connor's lecture, we need teamwork. And Aaron was saying, he went against his generals and what other people wanted him to do, which even though he is a leader, he needs to have some cooperation, especially with people that he was allied with.
That's true.
I mean, he did have cooperation, though. He was able to get not only Japan, but also Russia, China, and Italy to all fight for him at some point in time. He only turned on Russia because he thought he could take over Russia quickly. But he never fought against Italy or Japan. He just accepted that they were on his side. But he thought that since Russia was also in a depression, he could easily take over their forces. And Russia has massive oil rigs at the time. So if he could take over the oil rigs, he could run another campaign for Lord only knows how many more years if he was able to do that.
So you're saying then that people did help in his.
They did. They all helped him. They all helped him because he only controlled the German forces. Russia and under Stalin, they all had their own fights that they were bringing against people.
So then that's okay then that he thought that all the victories were his alone?
Yeah, because he thought he was going to be the ruler of the world at some point in time. So he took credit for it because he was the head honcho. But he also let Stalin and them do their own fighting. He didn't tell them what to do.
But if people were helping him, then they weren't his victories alone.
Correct, but he was taking. It's like having our government. Who takes all the glory at the end of the day? The president is taking all the glory at the end of the day. If anything goes wrong, it's his fault. If anything goes right, he gets it right. It's the same thing as any head leader of a country.
Okay, you need to wrap up.
All right, class, that was a good discussion. We have a research paper due next Friday. You guys can pick whichever side you want to go for. If Hitler was a good leader, you can choose to write about that. If he was a bad leader, feel free to write about that too. Make sure you use at least 6 sources to write it. Connor, you were shaking your head. May I ask why?
I want to write a research paper, man. I got games this weekend.
Sorry,
I
you
got
gotta
championship this weekend.
allocate time.
Come on, teacher.
Very sorry. All right, class, that is the end. Go to lunch. Thank you for